And welcome to the Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25, the show devoted exclusively to St. Mary's University and its athletic programs. And today, for our last episode of 2016, we have a trio of hosts. Dean Beckman, Sports Information Director Donnie Netto, and we have a senior student, and he's an HBC employee. He's a St. Mary's student. You've seen him many times before. It's Ricky Palermo. He's even been a host of the Cardinals Nest. Today he's a guest and co-host. So Ricky Palermo is on the program as well today. And Donnie, this is our last show of the 2015-16 season. Almost impossible to think that we're already at the last show. And poor Ricky over here is thinking, I'm not worried about the last show of this year. This is like the last of my senior year. So 4 years have flown by for him. For us, it's been this year in sports.
It has, and it's been a really crazy year, and it is hard to believe that that we're airing our last show, because it feels like we just had Coach Lester on, a month ago, and we were talking about the season opening for volleyball. And so, if we're thinking things went fast, I'm sure, Ricky, from your standpoint, this 4 years it must have just flown by.
Yeah, I mean, to think that, today was my last day of classes, that's pretty crazy. So just trying to get through finals and, hanging out with you guys makes it a little more fun and a little easier to get through.
Ricky, before we start talking about some of the things that have gone on in the sporting world at St. Mary's, talk a little bit about your experience at St. Mary's, because I think it's kind of a special one in that not only are you a student, you're a manager for the baseball team, which really, people don't understand the work that goes into what you do for the baseball team. Just kind of talk about your reflections of this 4-year whirlwind that you've been on at St. Mary's.
Yeah, well, I came into St. Mary's not really knowing what my major was going to be. I came in thinking business, but then Chandu Valuri's international business course steered me aside, and I said, not a business major. Then I found PR, and Dean Beckman's helped me a lot along the way. But coming in from an athletic standpoint, I was the student manager in high school for our baseball team, and Steph Skatassa is my best buddy. He came here to St. Mary's with me, so it's like, hey, I'm going to manage here as well. So, and yeah, I mean, I go to practice every day. I think freshman year I skipped a few practices, and head coach Nick Winnicke was like, Rick, you can't skip practice. You got to come every day. So I learned the hard way, but yeah, it's just gone by like that. And to think we have 4 games left of baseball this season, and it's already over.
Well, 4 games left. Let's make sure we phrase that in the regular season.
In the regular season,
because if your best buddy, Steph Skatassa, continues to do what he did on Tuesday against Carleton, you guys could be playing for a long, long time. A great pitching performance against Carleton. And, if he can continue to do that, you guys are going to be playing for a while yet.
Yeah, really sharp. He threw all 7 innings, 89 pitches, 8 strikeouts, no walks, 5 hits. It was pretty impressive.
Well, and that was part of a 5-game winning streak that you're on now, too. And so where does that put St. Mary's as we look at the conference tournament? Only 4 teams make it, and I know there's a lot of teams battling for that final spot.
Well, I'll grab my phone, I'll pull it out, and I'll talk to Benji Higo, because I'm sure he's got them all figured out already. There's a lot of baseball to be played. I know the big thing really, and I've talked to Coach Winnicke about this, is the big thing now is they need to get through Saturday. It's our bye this weekend, so everybody else is playing in the conference. A lot of things are probably going to shake out a little bit following Saturday, because then everybody will be in the same amount of games played, with basically 4 games, 2 doubleheaders left. So right now they're sitting very good. It's it's a matter of they've got to take care of business. They've got a couple of big doubleheaders. They have to go to Concordia. We always talk every sport. You have to go to Concordia. It's a tough trip. That's on next Wednesday, and then they've got Senior Day against Bethel the following Sunday. So a big 4 games left, but a lot's going to shake out in the next week and a half.
Well, and of course, the last game is a home game against Bethel, and so that'll be Senior Day at St. Mary's there on May 8th. And but going back to this 5-game winning streak now, I think, Ricky, the whole season has been a roller coaster for the baseball team. There's been a lot of sweet streaks, both winning and losing, and a lot of double headers where you'd win the first game, lose the second game, low-scoring game in the first one, like we had the other day against Carleton, 2-0 win, and then a 13-9 second game. So it's been kind of an up-and-down roller coaster season.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit for the bats to wake up, and we noticed that in Game 1 yesterday. But Steph just pitched an absolute gem, and sometimes that's what happens when a pitcher is out there dicing like Steph was, sometimes the bats are slower. You see that in the pros a lot.
Yeah,
but
just less urgency,
yeah,
right?
Right. And when he's working so fast like that, the game just speeds up a little more, and we have to kind of take a step back and realize what we're doing. We didn't execute everything perfectly yesterday, something Coach Winicky touched on. But yeah, as for the roller coaster, I mean, we had a week where we faced St. Thomas and UW La Crosse, and we just didn't do well at all. We underperformed, just didn't hit the ball. Pitching was okay, but couldn't really score many runs. And thankfully, that part of the season's over. Everyone goes through those droughts, and now we're kind of trending upward again. Bats are starting to click, and yeah, just focusing on those last 4 games.
Yeah, and no one is clicking more than Willie Dahl right now. I mean, the guy is just, like I said last week, I mean, that ball must look like a beach ball to him because he's just hitting everything. He went 5 for 7. Again, this doubleheader against Carleton, that makes him 10 for 14 in his last 2 MIAC doubleheaders, and it's just, I mean, he hits everything, and certainly was rewarded for those efforts, being MIAC Athlete of the Week, and then a name to the D3Baseball.com Team of the Week. So, congratulations to Willie, well deserved. But you get somebody like that who's just, and he's such a threat. Not only getting the hits, but once he gets on base, there's just no stop. He went from first to third
on a ground
ball out, and it's like the guy he's just a speed demon, and that's another tool that he has that really makes it tough because pitchers really have to focus on trying to keep him off the base paths because once he's there, it's almost like there's just no stopping him. 21 stolen bases this year.
Next closest has 9 in conference.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
And, he's too shy of the school record that he holds, and he holds number 2. So he's just it's been a great career, and I always love when a senior can kind of go out with just a phenomenal season, and right now he's having that, and he's got a great supporting class. He's certainly not doing it by himself, but you go up and down that lineup. Bob Kinney, we talk about so often on this show, 2 home runs against Carleton, literally in the exact same spot in right field. And
same exact spot.
He's doing a great job, and Ben Berkeley. How do you not mention him when you're talking about success? And again, he kept the streak alive. He's on base 35 of the 35 games. So he just continues to do what he does. And right now, St. Mary's baseball team's a lot of fun to watch.
Well, and Ricky too, you've talked a lot about Ben Berkeley, and I know he's somebody that you'll continue to follow, I'm sure, even after you're graduating. But maybe one of the only people who could actually outshadow Berkeley this year would be Willie because of what he's doing, and you have the added benefit of seeing what happens sort of behind the scenes. Donnie and I talk about the stats, we talk about the scores and all of that. But the leadership that Willie provides, that kind of thing is difficult to replace. Yeah,
and I mentioned that tough stretch we had earlier in the season against Thomas and La Crosse, and it was really Willie Dahl that kind of kept the glue together in the team. And, that's, again, what you don't see outside of the program. And Willie is special because he's that 5-tool player, but he's also the leader vocally and physically what he does. And he just brings such a great presence to the Cardinal baseball team. And, back to yesterday's game, he tagged up on a ball that was a routine fly to right field. He's on first base. He tagged up and took second. Like, that just doesn't happen. And we're just saying, like, did he just do that?
And the neat thing too, and I think I see it a lot with the Cardinal baseball team. And you look at somebody like Willie and Ben and Bob, and not only are they outstanding athletic talents, but they're great individuals too, and they're nice people. The success that the 3 of those especially, because we do talk about them so much. They don't get a big head. Their ego stays in check, and they're really nice people to be around. And I think that is something that Coach Winicky has really instilled in these people. This is a team. This is a family. And I know we talk a lot about that, but I see it probably with baseball, maybe more so than any other team, in that they really genuinely are great people to be around.
Yeah, and I don't see Willie Dahl especially as one to succumb to pressure. I mean, like getting these awards last week, D3 baseball and all conference or player of the week, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, all the pressure's on you. You're the leadoff hitter. And he just comes and produces, again, 5 for 7 against Carleton. And, it's incredible. And he's a Cub fan. So what not to love about Willie Dahl?
I think we'll just make this whole first segment about baseball because we still have a lot to get to, actually. But I also want to get to softball and track and field. We'll do that in the second segment. But, Ricky, this year's senior class, it's more than just Willie, right? I mean, there are some outstanding seniors. There are a lot of them. And so it's going to, first of all, Donnie's Senior Day program is going to be huge, but it's going to be tough for
this year.
Yeah, you got to. It's gonna be
tough
huge.
for Coach Winicky to replace all of that. Just talk about this particular class. This is your class, so you know a lot about them. You came in with them, but it is special.
Yeah, well, I'm going to start with the players that kind of go under the statistic line. People like Brian Powers, Sean Morris, Ketchmark, leading the way, Peter Swigum. I mean, the list just keeps going on. These guys come to practice every day. Not only do they bring a strong work ethic, but they're just fun guys to be around. Sean Morris has always got these one-liners that people are laughing about, and Ketchmark's always goofing off talking about the Thunder. OKC, he loves them. We've just got a great glue, and the pieces have really fallen together this year, and I can't say enough about just how good the players are, as we mentioned earlier in this segment. It's not about how good of a baseball player are, and that's kind of what Nick Winicky preaches a lot. It's I don't care about the games at the end of the day. He says you're not going to remember this 10 years from now. It's going to be what kind of person you are, what kind of teammate you were, and he wants to prepare us for the next stages.
Yeah, the chemistry seems particularly tight with that senior group.
Yeah, we all hang out. Yeah, it's not there's cliques everywhere you go, but anyone can hang out, and it's a good group to be around. We all go to Wings together on certain nights, and we have a lot of fun.
Ricky,
and
one
Peter's
last.
father taught me in high school.
He did.
Jim.
Wow.
So it's a small world, but And Peter's one of those, and you're right. Those guys that we don't necessarily talk a lot about, and Peter's. I mean, every time I'm at a game, Peter's got a smile on his face, and he's working his butt off, and he's yelling and supporting, and in baseball especially, because you do have such a big roster. That's very impressive. It's an impressive thing to be able to do is be a good teammate, even if you're not playing. And again, I think that's something that Coach Winicky is really fortunate to have a number of players who are able to handle that.
Yeah. Well, when we come back here on the Cardinals Nest, we want to learn a little bit more about Ricky. We'll also be talking St. Mary's softball and track and field. That's next here on HBC.
We chose HBC because they're a local company. They have a big audience in Winona, which is the geographic group that we're looking for. Mel is very easy to work with. She's genuinely concerned about how our money is being spent, and she does everything she can to make sure we get the most for our money. She takes care of us. So whenever there's a problem, which is rarely, I know that I can go to her and she's going to take care of it.
To see how HBC Advertising can help your company, call Melanie at 507-474-5802.
And we're back on the Cardinals Nest here on HBC. The trio of talking heads today, Dean Beckman, Donnie Netto, and Ricky Palermo. We have Palermo's perspective today right here on the Cardinals Nest. We're going to learn a little bit more about our student Ricky a little bit later on here in this second segment. But first, softball action. And Donnie, last week the Cardinals did have a doubleheader sweep as they beat Carleton 7-2 and 8-0, but then came back with a couple of close losses against Hamlin, 10-9, 6-2. So kind of again a roller coaster ride as we talked about in that first.
Yeah, and the Hamlin losses were really tough in that it did eliminate the Cardinals from postseason contention. And the hard part for Coach Miller is in that first game against Hamlin, they're up 9-4 in the bottom of the seventh inning, and Hamlin comes back and scores 6 runs to win at 10-9. And as Ricky can probably attest to, it's tough then to bounce back after a game like that, and to lose the second game 6-2. Really isn't necessarily a surprise. It's such a heartbreaker to lose when you're in such good control of the game, and it's a tough way for the Cardinals to get eliminated from the playoffs. But they've still got games to play, and Coach Miller will make sure that they're ready to go. They've got Senior Day on Saturday against Concordia, and as we've talked in the first segment and all year, Senior Day is a special time, and I know that they've got 3 graduating players and a manager who are graduating, and so it's going to be a special tribute to them, and hopefully they can get a couple of wins on Saturday and kind of propel themselves into the future.
Right, yeah. I mean, 3 doubleheaders left, and they're 18-16 overall, so still a couple of games above 500. And Ricky, they're sort of an opposite boat as the baseball team. This is a very young team. We talked about all the graduating seniors with baseball. Right. Not the case, just 3, as Donnie just mentioned with softball. This is a very good, young, talented softball team.
Yeah, players like Callie Aldrich and Stanzi Snyder, have been leaders essentially. And I've talked to them a little bit, and they've had some hard times. And I know Stanzi's really stepped up and said, "Hey, come on, let's get together." She's kind of been that vocal leader for them, and only a sophomore. So good things to come for the Cardinal softball team in the future.
Yeah, Snyder, in fact, hitting .358, Donnie.
Yeah,
she has been offensively one of the bright spots.
Yep, she is having a great sophomore year, and you look at the seniors in Mariah Harper and Katie Ellenfelt and Katie Kroll. Jen's going to miss a lot, but you're right in that only graduating 3 is going to certainly make it a little bit easier for them to kind of adjust to their absence. You certainly can't necessarily replace them one for one, but it does make it a little bit easier for Coach Miller when you're returning the majority of your roster, and when you've got somebody like Ashley Betzold in the pitcher circle, you've got a solid start, and they've rode her a lot this year, and she's had a great year as a pitcher and as a hitter. She's hitting over 300 as well, and 18 complete games this year, 52 for her career, ties the school record for career complete games. So Ashley, congratulations on that honor, and by the time she's done, that record will be absolutely obliterated because she just gets stronger and stronger. I think last year Ashley struggled a little bit to pitch back-to-back games in a doubleheader, and this year she's much stronger in game 2s, and that certainly makes the year because she's a phenomenal pitcher, and then you add to that the fact that she's an above 300 hitter. It's a great 1-2 punch.
Well, Donnie, I know this Saturday it's going to be busy at St. Mary's. We have the track and field home meet on Saturday. Last weekend, the track and field team was at the Phil Eston Challenge at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse, and Morris Dennis coming in first once again in the 400.
Yeah, and the thing is it seems interesting. You say he came in first. Well, you kind of expect to be in first, but this is such a huge field in that 400. There were 60 competitors in that one race. And for Morris, to come away with a first-place effort was outstanding. And for the Cardinals, 5 top 10 finishes, a great performance there. And the 4x400 men's relay set a school record. So it was a very solid performance. They get to be home now this weekend for the St. Mary's Open, a chance for them to kind of compete in front of their home crowd. And so it's going to be an exciting day. I know Coach Anderson is kind of like Coach Winnicky. He's been looking at the Weather Channel and the weather app on his phone, and he's just praying that the weather can hold out and they can have a good day on Saturday.
Well, and Ricky, here on the Cardinals Nest, you and Nathan Voller, you're in charge of our last segment, which is the Student Athlete Spotlight. And you've had a chance over the years to interview a lot of the track and field athletes. So what stands out about this year's team? I know you've talked to Maria Mizzarelli already this year.
Yeah, well, the confidence that they've shown early on, because when we had the Cardinal early bird and all, that's when I spoke to them. And Maria has just been an outstanding sophomore, right?
Correct.
And so she's come back really strong, and she'll be one of the leaders next year. And Morris Dennis, of course, and then Brian Hartman really coming strong. He's a Chicago kid, and they're just a good group, and kind of like the baseball team seniors coming together and clicking and having some success, and hopefully at the finish for them.
All right, so now, Ricky, with the rest of our time here, we want to learn a little bit more about you. As we said, you work for HBC, you're a senior at St. Mary's, but there is a lot more that you do as well, besides the time you provide here on the Cardinals Nest with that Student Athlete Spotlight. You're from the Chicagoland area, so maybe tell us about growing up there and why it is you ended up coming to St. Mary's.
Well, as we know, Chicago's the big city and all, and I kind of wanted to get away from that a little bit, wanted to expand my horizon, and I actually work at a funeral home back home, ironically, and one of the directors there said, I went to St. Mary's for 2 years, transferred, and it was the worst decision I've made in my life. So I said, sure, I'll check it out. Came, visited, fell in love with the campus, did the overnight stay. It was great. And then, my love of sports carried over once I found out Steph and Brian Powers, and eventually Ryan Fate and RJ Brown, all St. Joe's graduates, did come to St. Mary's. So, we've got a good group of Chargers here at in Winona. So being together with them, it's just, expanded my love of sports and, my passion for, just being with good guys that I've been with my whole life. So that helps a lot. And then really getting to commentate was really like my next step into kind of St. Mary's and getting into HBC and things like that, because I've been doing the webcasts for baseball or for basketball and hockey since my sophomore year, and then that's where I've expanded my creativity and working with HBC. Got to do my own videos for Cardinal Nest and then Palermo's Perspective. So it's been a fun journey, and it's good to reflect on, and I'm excited for what's going to come of it.
And Ricky, we talked a lot about Willie's accolades just this last week. Now it's time to toot your own horn. Talk a little bit about the awards that you received for the It's On Us video.
Yeah, so there's the Public Relations Society of America Minnesota chapter does a student compilation contest each year for work students have done. So Dean told me, hey, sign up for this, you'll win it, and that's what happened. So I entered the It's On Us video, which HBC was so gracious in helping for. I created that with SAC for St. Mary's, and we won that. It was great. We got this nice little Roman pillar trophy. Well, I'm going to be carrying that with us to Concordia for some good luck. God, we need it. That place is tough to play at. But yeah, so I won that, and then that very same day we had the St. Mary's Student Life Awards, and I won the first ever Cardinal Pride Award, myself, Jenna Sullivan, and the rest of SAC for the It's On Us video. So 2 for 2 that day in awards.
Ricky, besides some of your the work that you've done with HBC and webcasting for St. Mary's and all of the video work that you've done, you've also been Student Senate President at St. Mary's. You have a lot of other leadership under your belt from St. Mary's, and all of that has sort of led to your next step once you graduate from St. Mary's. So tell our viewers about the internship that you'll be doing with the Youth Golf Association.
Yeah, so the American Junior Golf Association is based out of Brazeltine, Georgia, and that is kind of where the Jordan Spieths, the Dustin Johnsons, the Zach Johnsons grow up coming into golf. They're all high school kids between 12 and 18, I believe, and I applied for an internship there in August, got a Skype interview in December, went to Atlanta in March for a recruit weekend with 100 other applicants, and so yeah, I got it. And this summer I'll be traveling America, doing writing and interviewing and updating the website for the AJGA. So it's going to be an exciting next 3 months, and I can't wait for it. And really happy to be able to explore the country.
Yeah.
So Ricky, once that's done, you finish that internship. What do you want to? What's your next step? What are you looking to do from there?
Well, I really want to get into commentating. I think that's my true passion, and my favorite sport is baseball. So I'm going to look to try to ease my way in through the minor leagues as an SID, hopefully, that gets to commentate games, and then hopefully eventually make my way up to Chicago.
All right. The next Harry Carey, perhaps, right here. That'd be great. So, Ricky, again, thanks for everything you've done, not only for HBC, of course, and us here on the Cardinal's Nest, but for St. Mary's and the community, really. So.
Yeah, it's been a fun time.
All right, so stay tuned. We'll have Nathan Voller in next with our last Student Athlete Spotlight of this year, and it's going to be a compilation Student Athlete Spotlight, so that's next here on HBC.
Hi, I'm Dan Picarino with HBC. Our goal has always been to offer the very best TV experience and value possible. Customers often ask, why do we have to pay for a bunch of channels we don't even watch? It's kind of like this. Imagine going into a convenience store and wanting to buy a bag of chips. But to get those chips, you're required to also purchase a candy bar, a slice of pizza, a sandwich, and a pack of gum. That's how one channel you want becomes 4, 5, or even more channels in your lineup. Today, there are 6 multi-billion-dollar corporations that control 90% of the existing networks and programming. We feel strongly that these corporations should not be allowed to double or triple their rates from year to year. There are times that HBC must challenge these media companies to keep their rates reasonable. We hope you will join us in this fight. Please visit tvonmyside.com/HBC to learn more. And thank you for choosing HBC.
And we're back here to wrap things up on the Cardinals Nest. And Ricky, before we go to our student athlete spotlight, Donnie over here, he's got a ton of what I call old man stories, but he would call did you know type of stories. So what's been your favorite one over the years? I mean, he's been telling us about why they call it a can of corn and you know, why the umpire points and things like that.
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
There's so
well, I just learned the can of corn today, so that was pretty cool. I mean, I hope I never experience a can of corn.
You can relay that to your teammates on the bus trip to Concordia.
Yeah, we got a long bus trip to
Look at how smart Donnie is going to make you look.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's true of all of us, really.
I can't take credit for it. I got it from Chris Kendall. So
Okay.
There you go. Another baseball player.
That's right.
There it is.
All right, thanks for watching the Cardinals Nest, and we'll be back in the fall with a new season. And here now is Nathan Voller with our last student athlete spotlight here on HBC's The Cardinals Nest.
I decided to come to St. Mary's to play hockey. One of my friends from high school actually played in Eau Claire and then came to school here and played, and she talked me into coming to school here. I think the teammates and the friends you make here is something unforgettable. I think that's probably one of the biggest things about playing hockey here.
Last year I noticed right away on like the first day that we practiced the level of tennis is just different. It's harder, everyone hits the ball. No one is bad. In high school you'd run into teams or players that were just bad, kind of like what are you doing out on the court right now, but right now in college, especially in the conference that we play in, there's no bad team.
Oh yeah, see, freshman year, like nobody really knew who I was. I was just another freshman on the team, but now this year, the bars are higher, standards are higher, the expectations are way more, so. It's I mean, helpful. It comes with the pressure, but I really love it here. Like the coach, just the team. Yeah, whenever I'm not competing or get warming up for an event, I'm always on the sideline cheering on my teammates. No matter if they're like pole vaulting, jumping, I'm always there. Long distance running, always there cheering them on, because that's like really a team character right there. You being able to cheer your teammates on.
He's like an older brother. I mean, I'm sure most people that have an older brother, I mean, they pick on you every once in a while, but they're always there to have your back. Wherever I need a question or just to ask him about something, he's always there. It's a really easy transition into hockey, playing for him. We played in the backyard all the time. There used to be a rink just across the street behind our house. So I used to tag along with him and all of his friends when we were younger, so it was pretty fun. Got to play around with them. When he was in high school, they used to skate about every Friday night together with his friends, and I would try to tag along and try to play along with them, but didn't always work out the best, but I tried my hardest.
I chose to attend St. Mary's because my uncle actually went here, and he turned me on to the idea of touring it. Decided to tour, and everyone was super nice, super friendly. Class sizes were small, offered the major I was looking for, and had a great swim team. I've been a swimmer since I was 7 years old, so swimming was always just in the foreground of my life, and I wanted to continue it competitively.
I think all of us, starting out freshman year, kind of came in, didn't really know anyone, didn't know what to expect, and now we've been here for 3 years and kind of know how to run things. I mean, we want to be just as successful, if not more. I don't know, as upperclassmen, just try to be leaders, try to set an example, and give 110% in practice so everyone else follows.
Before games, we have pregame jams. So all the roommates will get together and we'll blast music and we'll try to get in the zone and get pumped up for our game that afternoon. Well, as a team, we usually come early anyway to play Lightning in the rack, but Mackie and I like to come extra early, a lot earlier than other people. It just gets us in the zone, and I don't know, it's something that we share together. So,
being the head coach, how do you manage them, from that perspective?
Well, I think one of the things that we've tried to do is if there's anything that Bob needs to hear other than just some simple corrections, I take care of it rather than Ben. Because, I mean, I've coached my kids before, it's tough, and I think at the beginning of the season there was a little bit of an adjustment period for Ben and Bob, but it's just way easier if I take care of talking to Bob as much as possible.
Every once in a while we get a little heated at each other, but I mean, it's nothing that you would never see from two brothers that are only 4 years apart. But yeah, it really is great to have him. I mean, he's probably one of the better coaches I've ever had, and he's just very knowledgeable about the game.
Playing with these two seniors all 4 years has been pretty great. I couldn't have asked for better years.